Welcome to Marriage Monday with Jeremiah and Savannah Jennings. The Jennings own Growing Green Landscapes and are very happily married. In this podcast, Jeremiah and Savannah discuss the wins, losses, good times, bad times, and everything in between pertaining to owning a business while maintaining a healthy marriage along the way. We hope you enjoy the show.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode today here on the Growing Green podcast. This is your host, Jeremiah Jennings, and I am so excited to be coming to you today with another fresh new episode here for your Monday. This is another Marriage Monday episode. This is something we've been doing for the last, I think this is 13 weeks now, 13 or 14 weeks. That does not feel like it's been that long.
Yeah, it's been
Savannah's here with us today. And this is actually going to be a fun one because we have a guest interview. And love guest interviews because I love the interaction. It's actually in-person guest interview, so that makes it even better. It's kind of like the best of everything here. So we have Kaleb and Jordan Windors. They're some friends of ours from here, small group from church, and just kind of build relationships because Kaleb owns a business here, multiple businesses, and we've just kind of grown and wanted to get a podcast on today and talk because they are around the same age as us, married and running the business together. And so they have a really cool story to tell, and we're just going to get into that and see where it goes. So, Kaleb, how are y'all doing today?
Jordan? Good, man.
Doing good.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely. It's an honor to do it. Like I said, love guest interviews. So, we'll tell everybody about, y'all can, whoever wants to lead off can lead off, about who y'all are and kind of like what the business is and businesses are. I guess.
Businesses.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
take it and run with it.
So, me and Jordan have been together since high school. We started dating senior year of high school in 2016, fall of 2016. And
It's a long time ago.
yeah, it has been.
That makes me feel old, too. That's when I graduated. But
And so we started dating fall of senior year and followed each other. Well, I followed her to school. She chose UT, and I decided that I'd rather follow my girlfriend than pick a school. So I just went to UT.
God-awful Orange.
Yep, go Vols.
It paid off eventually.
Yeah, and then stayed together through college and got married last summer. And so we've been married a little over a year. And she's in school now at UAB. She's going to be a PA. And so that's why we're in Birmingham and getting to meet great people like you guys. So,
how's school going? Where are you
It's
at?
good. I'm 12 months in of 27, so almost halfway.
almost
Oh
halfway.
my goodness, that's depressing.
No, that's, you're almost that halfway point.
Yeah, I only
Wait,
have one
that's
semester
right,
left
glass
of
half full.
classroom stuff.
Yeah, wait, so I haven't even asked you this. Do you think y'all will stay in Birmingham after you graduate, or are y'all going to?
I hope not.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
No.
We want to move back closer
Yeah.
to family
Yeah.
in Nashville.
Well, that's
so.
understandable, for sure.
It's been something that in our whole relationship until here recently, the Lord's kind of gotten a hold of me. I was kind of the hold up. But in our whole relationship, that was the one topic that we did not discuss.
Yeah, it's
And
our
Really?
cyclic argument that we come back to over and over again
Yeah.
is where we end up.
I was
Yeah.
very anti going home and just coming from a big family and doing routines and stuff like that. I wanted to build my own life somewhere else. And her whole family lives within 3 miles of each other. So
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
it was not in her family for her to leave. It was
Mhm.
cool, go to school for 4 years, now
And
turned
head
into
on back.
6, and then
Yeah.
come home and hang out. And so that wasn't my family's thing. My
Yeah.
parents moved away. Our whole family lives in Louisiana, and so just wasn't something that I thought about until here recently. And as we talk about having kids and growing a family and stuff like that, I'm coming around to the idea
Yeah.
of
Makes
moving
sense.
within
10 miles, not 3
reasonable-
miles.
within a
Within an hour,
reasonable
yeah.
distance.
Okay.
It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be anything crazy.
Because where are they
Yeah.
at? Y'all at Nashville,
North
right?
Nashville in the
Yeah.
Hendersonville area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, wow. I haven't even thought about that. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I thought, wait, you said they're in Louisiana? Your family?
Mhm.
I thought your family was in Nashville, too.
Yeah, so my parents are.
Okay.
But when they were the first people to move away. Everyone else lives on a farm.
Okay. So you're saying your parents moved to Nashville from
Yes.
Louisiana?
Yeah.
Okay. I
And
thought
so
you were
they're
saying
the
they
only
moved.
people to have moved away
Yeah.
from their family,
Mm.
and so they kind of started that trend.
Yeah. So you
and-
like kind of
Yeah.
wanted to follow that.
But that's cool that y'all have gotten to do that though. Kind of the best of both worlds. Like you did school and now y'all are kind of getting to make a life somewhere else. But then hopefully eventually
Is there
move
anything
back
that would keep y'all
closer.
here? Do you think?
I don't know.
Jordan's like, no.
Yeah.
So do you have like the same job options up there?
Pretty much. We've talked about it. I think going to school down at UAB speaks for itself. If you want to learn medicine, you go to UAB.
Yeah.
So I think that it wouldn't be a huge deal, but Nashville's definitely a bigger city and the market's very saturated, but I think that goes for every profession, probably not just PA, so I'm not too worried about it.
We've always said that it'll depend on her job because I feel like I can do whatever I do anywhere. And
Yeah.
so it's more up to her and her job, but as a married couple still making that joint decision of moving
sure.
somewhere.
Yeah, we might circle back to that. I didn't. That's a good conversation right there. I haven't. I don't know. We've toyed with moving places, but
Have
never. Yes, we have. You know where I want to go. We're not
Yeah,
going to
I
stay
know.
here forever.
Where do you want to go?
Auburn.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's why. I don't know why it's such a big deal.
But it's still not that far away.
No, it's like
No,
an
no,
hour
no,
and a
no,
half,
no,
2
no.
hours. So yeah, it's
I
not
think
3.5.
Yeah.
I think, it's a little different because going back to Nashville, like, you're still going to have the opportunity. But, medically, like, if you want.
Don't act like this. You
What
act
are you
like you're
talking
going to
about?
work full time for the rest of your career. No,
Well,
you're not.
I do want to work, but, like, medically, we're so spoiled here in Birmingham to have, like, the facilities and the hospitals and the
Right.
organizations that we do. So it'd be hard
Well,
to
just
pull
being so
myself away
close to
from
stuff
that.
too. That's
Yeah.
one thing we talked about, like having kids down there. Like
So going
Here,
from a
we're
big
20
city to a big
minutes.
city is different than going from a
Right.
semi-big city to kind of
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere, because people there come here for stuff.
For
and
medical.
so,
Yeah.
well, not even just medical, but like,
yeah, one of the crazy things we talk about is the airport. Like we're so
Oh,
close
yeah.
to an international airport now.
Yeah.
Like we're
Birmingham
20
isn't
minutes.
even that great of an
Yeah,
airport.
we think
but
Birmingham Airport is,
It's amazing.
nothing compared to. No, that's not what I was saying.
Why don't y'all
Jordan's
like it?
I actually
no.
prefer Birmingham's airport because you can get
Well, it's small.
you can get
Yeah.
to the security line
Yeah.
and get to your gate within 15 minutes.
That's
Oh,
why
yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
You
Nashville-
can, but flights, you have less options, and
No,
they're more
yeah, you don't
expensive
fly.
compared to
Yeah.
Nashville.
Well,
Yeah,
because
you don't fly as many places,
Yeah.
but I can go get through Birmingham's, like you said, secure. I can show up for a 7:15 flight at Birmingham. I can get there at 6:45 and be on my flight at 7:15.
That's very
Yes.
true.
Yeah.
And I can just connect to Atlanta. It's a 25-minute flight
Yeah.
and then leave from there. So
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It has its perks as opposed to
Yeah.
Nashville or Atlanta. Like those are the big airports near us.
Yeah.
You have to get there 2 hours early, 2.5 hours
Yeah.
early to
It's a
get
whole
on the
day.
flight. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It like makes flying not worth it
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
But anyway,
pros and
we were talking about
cons.
that, just like because like when we get home from like when we went to California, we got home and when we get out of the airport, we were home in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But we were
Yeah.
on the flight with people that like lived in Montgomery, lived in Auburn.
Yeah. And then you
have
still got a
2.5
2
hour
yeah.
drive.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
That's why we don't fly into Atlanta. Like we don't
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
$50 more to fly to Birmingham, I'm paying the $50
Yeah. So
more.
you
Yeah.
don't
because
have
I-
to drive the
yeah.
2.5 hours home. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
For
so bad.
sure.
But anyway, this has been 8 minutes of fun conversation. But let's talk about the business. So what do you do? What
Yeah.
what do y'all do?
So I've got 2 businesses. One I started in college. It's a temporary storage business for events. It's called Rolling Storage LLC. And basically, when you go to any concerts or sporting events nowadays, you have clear bag policies where you can't bring in your pocket knife or your wife can't bring in her purse. And I was working security at the time in college. Got tired of telling people no and seeing how upset they got, and just said, I can solve this solution, solve this problem with a solution. And so basically just started with the pitch competitions that we were kind of talking about before we got on air, and got free money and was able to take that money and start the business with it. And so that's been in operation since 2019. COVID kind of killed that right there at the end of my college career. And then we moved down here to Birmingham, and I was kind of bored. And so I went and bought a detailing business. And so that's the other business that I have, Prime Shine LLC here in Birmingham. And that's kind of how I guess we've gotten connected and running that business here. So, and Jordan's been with me the whole way. So it's been cool.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So, like I said, y'all have been together the whole time from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about that startup story of the rolling storage, like we were talking about now before we got on air of like the pitch competitions and all that. I didn't even know what that was, and you were explaining it, and I said, no, let's stop and let's talk about it on air.
Yeah. So like I said, I followed her to school. I didn't want to go to school. I knew what I could do would be something in business, but started on my own and not have to go through 4 years of education of other people telling me what to do to get there. And so with that, Jordan, I got to share that with her in high school and tell her, what my dreams were and what I wanted to do. And she was very supportive of that. And I don't think that I, would have been able to do all that if she wasn't with me the whole time. But in high school, I was just kind of buying and selling stuff, flipping stuff, always trying to make a dollar where I could. And I had quite a few jobs, but I hated working for other people. And I realized that at a young age. I hated making $7 an hour while someone else was making $50 or $60 an hour off of my $7 an hour.
Yeah.
And so when I got to school, I actually had the first 2 years of school was just gen ed stuff, and I was so tired of it, wanted to quit. I actually, in December of 2018? Yeah, December of 2018, I came home, and I told my parents, I said, I'm not going back. I'll go back to Knoxville because of Jordan, but I'm not going back to school. And they kind of said, well, you're halfway through, you can push through, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I'll go back. And I went back. And that spring semester of sophomore year, I took my first entrepreneurship class. And there was a guy that he was a first-year professor. It was just an intro class. His name was Hasib Qureshi. And he was my first professor that had actually done something. He wasn't just in academia. And so he kind of got to explain to me about, his businesses and his journey as an entrepreneur and stuff that he had done. And it had really inspired me. I mean, that was the first time that I looked forward to going to class. That was the only class that I looked forward to going to. And so with that, he also encouraged me throughout the semester. He told me that, by the end of this, we're going to find something that's going to keep you here. You're going to do something, but we want to keep you here. And so with that, he encouraged me to do something called Vol Court at UT, which is a 6-week competition. Basically, for 6 weeks, they bring in one speaker and every week, and they kind of just talk about different topics on entrepreneurship. And so that was kind of cool to sit through and learn from people. And then at the end of it, you have the opportunity to sign up for a 90-second pitch competition at the end. And so that last night, I knew I needed to sign up for it, so I did. I had been working all semester to try to figure out a business. I had bounced so many ideas off the wall, and nothing had stuck. And that night, I just had the idea for the storage business. It had been something in the back of my head, but I didn't really think it would be a great business. I just thought it would solve people's problem. And so I wrote that down.
Which is what business is.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just wrote that down, rolling storage, and went to my professor. I told him what I had done, and he said, where have you been hiding this? This is actually something that can be, and it's something that you're passionate about at the time. And so that was super cool. I went the next week and have a huge fear of public speaking. I do not like it, can't stand it. 90 seconds felt like
an hour
eternity.
and a half.
Yeah. Especially getting up, because you had like 8 judges, and then you had the whole room of other people pitching. And I was towards the end, so I had sat there and watched people go and go and go.
Yeah.
I was like, oh gosh, and I had a confidence there too of like, I've listened to this on repeat for the past 2 weeks, I recorded my speech so I could just hear it played back. And so I got up there and gave my 90-second spiel. And by the end of it, whenever I walked off, I knew I'd won. And so they called my name, gave me that check. I was like, this is cool, $1,500. And they, like to joke with you in college, like, what are you really going to spend that on? You're going to go get a bunch of junk food or, whatever. And but I actually put that money away. And the next competition is called Graves Business Plan Competition. And so you take that idea and you actually have to have a business plan in place. And that's what you pitch next. And it's 1 week where it's, I believe, like 10 minutes of pitching. And there's two sides of it. There's a lifestyle category and a high growth category. And basically they just split you up. And a lot of the high growth stuff was like technology and all that. And a lot of the lifestyle was more of your small business. One good friend of mine had like a honey business. And so that was kind of the different categories, and they didn't want everyone to compete against each other. And so they put me in the high growth category, and that made me kind of nervous because going up against like tech and all that, it was something that just, it was so out of my realm at the time. And so I ended up pitching in that competition, won first place again, so got $5,000 there, so that put my total up to $6,500, which was pretty good money at the time, but also not enough money for what I had planned. In my trailer at the time, the design that I had for that business was going to be somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000, and I just didn't know where that money was going to come from. And so there's actually another competition after the Graves competition that's called the Boyd Venture Challenge, and you have to actually have a formed business, an LLC, or any, sole proprietorship, anything like that, corporation. And that first year after I'd done the Graves competition, I hadn't really thought that I had the money or the knowledge to do that, so I didn't pitch that semester in the Boyd Venture Challenge. And I waited until the following semester to kind of get things in order. And that summer, I just sat on my tail and, didn't do anything with the business. And it just frustrated me all summer. And then I came back in the fall and getting back into my routine and stuff with the people, being able to kind of get that encouragement back and get in that routine. I started working on the business again and trying to figure out, how I can do this in a smaller market, test market, just to prove that it works, prove the concept works, and get it out there and not spend that $25,000 on the first trailer. And so I took that $6,500, went and bought a trailer off Facebook, built it all out myself for what I needed to do. Contacted my first venue, told them what I did. They took a shot on me. And so with that, I started working. And now that I'd proved the concept had worked, I took that and went and pitched in the Boyd Challenge. And what I win there, $15,000? Yeah. You could ask for anything up to, I think it was $30,000 at the time, $35,000.
Wow.
But it all depends on what you ask for and what you can prove and everything. So I think I asked for 20 and they gave me 15, which was, I was ecstatic
15
about.
grand you didn't have before.
I mean, I'm up over 20,000 now of free money basically. And so at the time the business had just started getting going. I had my first contract. I was doing well. I actually got my full return on investment after, I believe it was 22 events. So I was a month or two in, and I'd gotten my full investment into the business back out of it in that short time frame. And so with that, I'd kind of taken all that money and built it up, and I was expanding. I was getting offers to go pitch at larger competitions in the SEC and around, and then COVID hit and shut us down completely. We, at that time, had a good chance to I had a good buddy of mine that was going to pitch with me. We probably had a good chance to win over six figures that year and dump it all into the business. And we were so excited about it. And then COVID just like slap in the face. And so that was kind of brutal at the time. And also the industry that I was in with events, that got shut down too. So it wasn't just the competitions and the money side. It was also the revenue side and day to day. And so I had nothing to do. I was like, well, so I ended up going to working for a friend of mine and just keep money coming in during that time frame. Left school and then moved down here, bought a house, and kind of just left all that in Knoxville because whenever we moved down here, it was still in the start of COVID, we were getting married. There was a lot of stuff going on. And so just kind of left that business where it was at. And then just was buying and selling stuff, flipping stuff. I knew I wasn't going to go work for somebody, so I just had to make an income last year. And then in January of this year, I was just on Facebook one day, and I saw a guy was selling his business, detailing business. And I told Jordan, I said, I don't know anything about detailing, but this seems like a pretty good deal. You know, and buying this business that this guy's already established. He's got, well over 1,000 customers, that he's proven it works. And so bought it off him and made that money back within 2 months again. So full ROI again on that business. And this whole year's been pretty good with the detailing. It's not something that I'm super passionate about, but meeting people and getting out in the community and making connections was something that I was passionate about. And this was kind of more of a mission field than it was a business whenever I first was looking into it. And so with that, found somebody to work for me. And, if nothing else, it was going to give him a better life, and it was going to help support our lifestyle. And so with that, it's kind of, where our journey through 2 businesses over 3 years so far. So
that's a whirlwind.
Yeah.
That's a long journey. Wow. There's a lot we can unpack there. Let's go back to the beginning, I guess. So you didn't finish school, right? Or
so senior
year. I got
year,
lost in that timeline.
Yeah, so senior year was 2021. We were in Knoxville at the time. Jordan had gotten accepted into UAB, and so we knew we were moving to Birmingham. And I volunteered to basically move everything that we had down here. We had found a house and bought it. And so 9 hours short, I quit school and moved down to Birmingham. And so that didn't sit too well with my wife. It didn't sit too well with my parents. It didn't sit too well with a lot of people that had really hoped that I would push through. But at that time,
I invested and put a lot of time and effort into it.
But it was like the sunk cost fallacy of where you had already put in all this time. Why not finish? For me, it was I feel like I've wasted the past 3 years. Like, I wish I could just move past that. And
so why do you think that? Why do you think you wasted it if you got all this opportunity out of it?
So I definitely wouldn't have the storage business, right, if I hadn't gone to UT. But I would have done something that was just inside of me, my drive. I would have done something and made it successful, right? Like, but it just I can pinpoint 2 classes and really 2 or 3 professors in the entire time I was at UT.
That really made a difference.
Yeah, and that I use day to day. I was golfing yesterday with a couple kids from Sanford, and they were in business management, and they were asking me do you actually use any of this, in your business right now? I was like, probably 2 classes, honestly. And that's about it. Yeah. And so it was something that I didn't want to do to begin with. But overall, top reason is I just didn't want someone else to be able to take credit for what I've done. And that was a big thing that I saw at UT. They were always bringing back people that own and run huge businesses and kind of shoving them in our face.
Saying
and
UT made them.
Yes, pretty much. And that's not what I didn't want. I didn't want someone else to claim I'm where I'm at because they put me there. Yeah. And so
you want them to claim your fame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Claim your
own. So, 9 hours short. I
think you ever finish?
People ask me that all the time, and honestly, no.
I think Jordan wants you to.
She does. She's a big school person.
So why do you want him to?
I think education's important. I think he should finish it. He's come this far, and I don't think that UT will necessarily take credit for anything unless you give them the opportunity to, So I do think, finish it, have a degree. You worked hard for, the most of it already.
But I didn't.
You didn't. But you put in the time. And
that was the other part. I felt like college was a joke because I literally could not care any less. I wasn't doing a bunch of things outside of school. I wasn't partying or anything like that, but I wasn't doing school. I didn't care. and I still made it that far. Like, it didn't, when I see people with degrees, it just doesn't prove a whole lot to me.
Well, I think we kind of jokingly have that conversation.
Depends on the field.
Jeremiah's
Depends on the field.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. Jeremiah didn't get near that far. I think you did a semester, a full year, before he didn't. And I really, because he was just going to go for his associates, like he was going to go for his bachelor. So it was a little bit the same. And I was like, you're like halfway there, like just push, then you'll have something to fall back on. Like if something happens in the future, God forbid, you've got something behind your name, like education wise. And, his thing was the same. Like, this is so pointless. Like, my time is way better spent doing other things that could, further the business and do something that I'm more passionate about. But then at the same time, like, I don't know. I just feel like education is so important, but also it does have to do with what I'm doing.
Right.
Like, I could not be in the field I am. You could not be in the field you're in without education and having the degree. Like, the degree is definitely not pointless here, but it's hard because we feel differently.
It just took a while to come to terms with it, I think. He is successful. He's self-made successful. He's driven. He works hard. Yeah. It's not like he sits at home.
Exactly.
And it's not like a degree at this point in time would contribute anything to it wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
And so it was hard for me because in my life, not getting a degree wasn't an option because there is no backup plan for me. I can't create anything of myself, without my degree in a field I want to work in. Yeah. And so it took a while, but I mean, can't be anything but supportive. He's definitely, put in the work and it's paying off.
Yeah. No, that's how I am too. I mean, it's he's proven himself. It's he doesn't need the degree right now. Oh, not now, but
the same point that you were making, my mom's made to me countless times. My mom's very successful in the business world and loves what she does. And her big thing was, what happens when you get to be like 40 and 50 and you don't want to actually be working, right?
Yeah, that's what I've said.
Yeah, and she's like, what happens when someone offers you a presidential or C-suite role in a company and you have to have a degree for that? And
God forbid you are injured and you physically are unable to go out and do stuff like that every day, like labor working, and you have to like do some type of office or Yeah. Of course, his answer is he'll figure it out. But
I've heard that answer before.
Yeah.
My thing is, if I ever do get to that point, it would be just my life would be so miserable sitting behind a desk or in an office doing anything. And it just and while we're so blessed right now to have our health and be young and be able to do manual labor stuff. For me, on one side of my business, for Jeremiah, his entire business, it's also like now you put in that hard work and that effort, but you get it to a point to where other people are putting in that hard work and effort. And I know that's what you guys are working towards, and that's what we're working towards too, to where other people are doing the hard stuff and you get to use your brain more than your body. And
I think a lot of it is, we've talked about this, we've done an episode on this before, is the employee versus the the entrepreneur mindset. And it's not that the employee mindset is wrong, it's just that you're built differently. Yeah. Like, I don't think you're built the way that he's built and go out and create it yourself.
Absolutely. We talk about that even in my field. There are opportunities for PAs to manage other people. I have zero interest in that. I don't want to be in charge of anyone. I chose the PA path rather than the physician path because I wanted to work on a team. I didn't want any people management. I wanted to clock in, clock out. I didn't want to take call all the time. And so it's just a very different...
and it has its benefits and
it does.
bad. I mean, it has good and bad because, I mean...
Well, we joke all the time about how, like, whereas me and you get to clock out and come home, like, they're dealing with clients and all that. Like, he just had somebody call him just now on a Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Like, I don't ever have to worry about that as far as, like, leaving the hospital. And that's not something I want to. So if that's what comes with it, then I get it. And I, support you in that. But that's not something I ever want to have to deal with.
And it's the same thing that I would never in a million years clock in and clock out of the job. Yeah. I don't want somebody telling me when I have to be at work. Yeah. If I want to generate $2,000 on a Monday and then take off on a Tuesday, I want to be able to do that.
Like that stable paycheck is nice.
Yeah, it is.
and it's I think we're similar. And I think it's literally the same in both of our marriages. It's just the way you're built. Yeah. And I think you have to, so don't get mad at me, you have to communicate this stuff in the beginning. You have to talk about it in the beginning before you do get married. I mean, what was so we went back to the beginning there. What was your take on all of it? I mean, you said you're supportive now because he's proved himself.
Right.
But like when there was nothing to prove, I know you had arguments. I know you had. I mean, I'm sure you probably had some knockdown, drag out fights about it sometimes. I mean, what?
Well, that is one thing that we don't do. We don't fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just. And it's not through, like we saw our parents fight viciously. Yeah. It's not anything like that. It's just like I can't deal with her being hurt or upset because of me. And I think she's kind of the same way. Yeah. She's just a lot more timid with it than I am.
We definitely never had big fights about it, but I would say maybe I didn't take him as seriously in the beginning. Well, maybe not maybe, certainly didn't take him as seriously in the beginning when he was going to these pitch competitions and in 5 minutes came up with a business idea and was pitching it. Then he made some money, and that's awesome. I sat in the audience. I thought that was great. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And then he made more money, and then he won again and made more money. And I think it was seeing other people's confidence in him. It's a realm I know nothing about. I don't know anything about business.
Right.
I don't know what makes a business successful, So seeing him be successful and other people take note of that and, really talk about what potential he had was kind of what flipped the switch for me into being, supportive, to, okay, this is going to be our life. And that definitely looked different. And I think for me, too, to be fair, there is still the stability that I am getting my master's degree right now. I'm going to have a job waiting on me. I'm going to have that paycheck. And not that I think anything would fail or happen, but that there's always that for me that keeps me and those, worried feelings at bay to the point where we can full-fledged support him. Even now, with me being in school and us working on a single income household, there's that security that in, 2 years, I certainly have, my paycheck and my contribution. And for now, the business is so successful and taking a business from January and in 2 months, making a profit off of it was just amazing. But he'd done it before. So I think maybe I didn't even give him as much credit as a lot of other people do. Yeah. Because I've seen him succeed in that. So it was definitely different. And in rolling storage, I sat out there with him in the cold and in the rain working those events because he didn't have employees. It was either me or some of his other buddies.
Low overhead.
Yeah.
Oh, it was very
low. it was very low budget in the beginning.
Yeah.
Take her out on a date afterward. That's your pay.
Yeah. I got a coffee sitting there in the cold. Yeah. Sometimes he'd bring a heater we could plug in. But moving from that to this current business that I do not have a role in other than a support role at home. Yeah. And so it's definitely different and definitely feels different, but feels better. It's more what we're working toward. And so I think that it's come full circle in a way.
Yeah. So do you think it was like, I don't know how to term this, like kind of like a hard pill to swallow for you at first when you were like, okay, he doesn't want to finish school. He wants to like go off and do business and like make this his own thing. Like, because I'm very much the same way in that I like my paycheck and I want to clock in and clock out. So like this, we joke that like it's a different mindset, it's a different breed, but like entrepreneurship is a different breed to me. Like their mentality and like their work ethic and like the way he can just like fly by the seat of his pants, like we're just gonna make it work, like whatever happens at the end of the day, and like that's just not me at all. So like that was something that I had to kind of like pray about and kind of like come to terms with as like his spouse being like, no, this is what he wants, this is what he's passionate about, he's serious about it. So do you think that was something that y'all kind of had to like, you kind of had to work through more so? Because like, not that just because you didn't have knockdown dragouts about it doesn't mean that there weren't some difficult conversations about it.
I would definitely say I felt unsettled about it, but I also don't think I truly believed he wasn't going to go back to school until more recently, because we had still flirted with the idea of, oh, you could take these online classes from a different university, and end up with a degree. Right. But until recently, I've really completely understood that's not happening. It's not in the cards, and I'm finally at peace with that. Yeah. Definitely had to work through it and do a lot of praying about it. It's just something that we don't see eye to eye on. Yeah. But I don't want to do what he's doing, so I can't necessarily understand that. And I saw when he was working for the construction company during COVID how miserable he truly was and how much more passion he has in every aspect of his life, not even just business, when he's truly doing what he loves. Yeah. And when he feels properly stimulated, I guess, in a way, mentally, it shows in other aspects of his life too. And so I don't ever want to push him to go get that degree or to go take a C-suite job or, anything like that when it's not something that makes him happy, Yeah.
No, for sure. We get that.
Actually, last December, I had applied at UAB, and I was gonna finish. And whenever I went to orientation, they told me that I didn't have to do the 9 hours. I had to do 30 hours to get my degree through UAB. And I walked out.
You said, nope.
And that's when it's really cool to look back now how God had his hand in it the whole way. But that December, I walked out, and then in January, bought the detailing.
How were you gonna make money? If you went back to school.
I was still flipping stuff.
Okay.
So last spring, whenever I quit, like she said, at the construction company, and even we talked about staying in Knoxville and doing that because that was a very cush job. You know, I could clock in, clock out, use my brain. You know, I was building stuff. I was starting businesses for someone else, but I still wasn't making the money that I should have for the amount of effort
you put in.
Yeah. And so with us getting married last summer and all that, I'd saved up enough, and we'd both saved up enough that we could kind of take that time off and just enjoy marriage really for the first 6 months. And I was still, buying and selling cars and anything else that I could get my hands on. And so I was still bringing in money that way without a job. And so no matter what I had, as far as like a title or a job, I was going to be bringing in money somehow. So,
how did you handle that?
It's definitely inconsistent, but
yeah,
there
like
was
the
no
inconsistencies.
Doubt, there was no doubt there was money in the bank, and I think also I have a little bit of a complex about the fact that I'm not contributing. So like it's the making sure I'm overly grateful, making sure we're on the same page, and communicating well.
Yeah.
Sorry, but just communicating about the finances, because we were never in a place where we were struggling, but it was so easy to see where that could happen because there was no stability.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to like in the back of my head, okay, 27 months from now, I'll have a paycheck, but until then, we do rely on what he decides to do and how he decides to bring in money, and he does well with that. But
how have y'all handled that process of living on one income? I mean, I know you're not struggling, but I don't think you're making millions.
Have y'all always, since being married though, have you been on one income?
Yes.
So you haven't had to go from 2 to 1, like making
you just
that
started
transition.
on one.
Okay.
Yeah, and during school, she was very fortunate she got all her scholarships and everything was paid for. Mine should have been, but it wasn't. And so I hated school so much. I was working pretty much full time during school because I could do anything but be in a classroom or be studying. And so for a while, I think, and we both did things like bought and sold clothes and shoes and stuff like that just to kind of make money where we could. But I think she'll agree to this. For the most of the time that we've been together, I've made most of the money, and it's kind of been one of those things where there's no pressure for you to go out and get a job or to do those things because we are fine. So I think it would be different if I didn't have the mindset that I do about going out and making money any way I can.
It was also important to us from the beginning, before we got married, to have a joint account and make sure we had completely joint finances, very transparent when it came to finances. And so I think we didn't struggle as much as maybe we would have if we had kept separate accounts, maybe not been as, completely transparent about where money was going or how we felt money should be prioritized.
Yeah.
So I feel like we may have struggled more in the beginning if we had gone that route.
Yeah.
I think being together so long helped us too, because we had kind of seen each other in high school, where you're not making any money at all. You don't, but you also don't have to worry about it at that time.
Not. Yeah.
And then you move the progression of through college, and then now after college, just being together that entire time and being able to talk about it from the beginning and kind of project the future, and then like actually live in what you projected, and continuing like that with your dreams and everything else. So,
and we do have to be mindful of a budget. We don't just buy whatever we want and live large. But it's certainly, I think I was more worried about it when we were dating because we weren't sure what it was going to look like. And then after marriage, and the Lord's been really faithful to us, and it's really fallen into place. And we were lucky to have so much support financially from our parents too while we were in college, that it helped to set us up to be able to be financially independent as we have been.
How have y'all, I think this is something that a lot of people listening in can relate to, of the instability of income. And if you're running a lawn care business and anything like that, like the winter's obviously your slow time. Even detailing, you're probably going to have a slow time. The winter's not going to be near as busy. How have y'all created a budget? Because it's hard to create a budget when you don't know when money's coming in. Like one month you can make 10 grand, the next month you can make 8 grand, or and I mean, especially if you're not taking a consistent paycheck every single week or something like that. Like that's something that we struggled with and still are working through. But like the first 2 years of my business, like I didn't take a paycheck. I just took whatever money was left from the business. And looking back on it was the wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to create a budget that way. So like how have y'all, you said you've had to live off a budget, but like how have y'all done that?
I'd say we just stay mindful of expenses. There's an app, is it Truebill? Something like that shows, just keeps tabs on exactly what subscriptions you have, exactly what, that has the pie chart and tells you what category money is going to. And we just kind of stay mindful of it. If anything seems absurd, we get rid of it. If anything seems like, okay, we spent a little too much here, this next month we cut down. So it's a very much a rolling budget because it is so hard when there's not a solid number to plug in and work backwards from. Yep. You can't really make a budget like normal people with 8 to 5 jobs do. Yeah. And so we definitely just have to look from month to month and make adjustments as necessary. And if he does look like he's on track for a month where we're going to make a little bit less, we adjust. Or if we have expenses coming up that we know about months down the road, we adjust ahead of time.
Yeah. I think also with it, the biggest thing for us has been, and this is something that I've always kind of done, but we pay cash for everything. I know some people agree with that, some people don't, but like both of our cars completely, the only thing that we have to pay every month is our house. And so that helps a ton.
Yeah, you don't owe anything to anybody.
Yeah. If I owed money to people, I think it'd be a lot different. If I owed money to the bank, it would be a lot different. But that's something, and also being able to agree to live like that, to not, be extravagant spenders or try to keep up with the Joneses, type of deal where, especially in small town, kind of like we are, where you got a ton of young people that are buying big houses and new cars and everything like that. We just, kind of looked at each other in the beginning and said, that's great. And, that's how some people want to live. But how's our life going to look in 20 years versus how?
If we don't do it now, we can do it later.
Yeah.
On a 10x level.
Yeah.
Right.
And from the outside, if you came to our house, this is a nice house. If you looked in our driveway, you'd say, that's a nice truck, that's a nice, SUV and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's not, we don't have those things so that other people, we're keeping up with other people or other people think a certain way about us. It doesn't really matter when it's all said and done. I'd rather I like our plan for us to have very nice things in 20 years or so, but even more than that, my kids and their kids, if I can on my deathbed, if I can look at 3 generations and say I set them up for success,
they're all taken care of.
That's something that is bigger to me than right now keeping up with somebody down the street and impressing them.
Yeah, so. What is the saying? Live like no one else does now, so you can live like no one else does in 20 years. Yeah. Like just the opposite ends of the spectrum there. That's good stuff. What words of advice would you give to anybody who's newly married, getting married, engaged, looking for a spouse, in those beginning stages of starting a business, running a company, and just whether it be communication or figuring out finances or whatever it is, what would y'all say like is some important things they should talk about or just figure out in their life before they take that step of marriage? And even if they already are married, but maybe they're thinking about starting a business.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I think the biggest thing that you mentioned multiple times in that is just talking, being open about it. Like I said, we have such a history together. It's different when you've been with someone when they have nothing and now when they're doing pretty well. And so if we hadn't talked about those things and talked about our dreams and our future and stuff like that, I think it would be a lot harder for her to have the confidence that we're going to be okay, or for her to say, I'm going to go to school and we're going to live for 2 years off one income and I'm going to take out $100,000 in loans and hopefully get a job at the end of the, and all these things. And so I think if we hadn't talked about that in the beginning, you wouldn't have confidence in each other. You wouldn't have anything to fall back on. So that's the biggest thing for me, just being open with each other and discussing it every chance that we get.
Yeah, I think so. And I think talking about what happened and one day of work is just as important as the vision of where it's going to go, and seeing those two things side by side as the spouse. And I think from the get-go, if your spouse doesn't totally buy into the idea of your business and what your lifestyle might look like as you're building it, then it'll never work. You won't ever be able to convince them until it's big. And the hills and valleys you might go through to get there will really wear on your marriage. I would definitely say communication's huge. Vision aspect and doing that together is huge. And the perspective's going to be different from a spouse that's outside of business versus the spouse that's in it every day. I think sometimes entrepreneurs, or at least Kaleb, get a very kind of sacrificial mindset because you have to make sacrifices to make your business work up front, but you forget yourself, and the vision a lot of the way. And so it's cool to be able to remind him of that when he gets bogged down in the day-to-day. And so I think definitely communicating about that and from up front. And just because one spouse doesn't want to be in, ever really be a part of the business, doesn't mean that you don't need to talk about it and really, be on the same page with that.
Sometimes you just have to listen.
Yeah.
Even though you're not in the everyday.
Right.
Yeah. And that's going to be tough. That's something that I think it's funny because I think you're the supportive role now, but I think in 2 years you're going to realize how much of a role you take on.
Yeah.
Just coming home and listening to how her day went.
Yeah.
And even, I know you do that with school now.
Yeah.
But then once she gets into the job role of the patients she sees and all the things that happen during the day, 'cause that's something that we still do, work on is listening to each other's day and letting the other one just talk and actually being present when they do talk.
Yeah.
That's something that's tough.
Just because, like you said, what we do is so different, and we
Yeah.
have such different roles in what we do.
Because it can be boring. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear you talk
Well,
about
it's
nursing.
not-
Like,
I
I
mean-
don't know anything about it. And she doesn't want to hear you talk about putting a ceramic coating on a car. Like, okay, cool, it's shiny.
Yeah.
Like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Well, and a nicer way to say that is that you just don't it's just, you don't know. Like, you just don't understand. So
Yeah,
it
there's
doesn't
no
make
way
as
to
much
compare.
sense to you.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's not as intriguing as obviously how your day was.
Yeah.
And we talk about that every once in a while. I just looked at her the other day and I was like, how weird is it that half of our lives, like, we spend together? The other half, we have
We never
absolutely
see
no
Yeah,
we
we
do
We've
idea.
very
talked about
different,
that.
Yes.
different things.
Like, he
So
has
Like,
weird.
no
and
idea.
the thing is, we'll never see them in their element.
Yeah.
Like, you can come.
I hope
You
not.
can come detail. Yeah, I know.
I really hope not.
You can
Yeah.
come detail for a day, or she can come ride along, watch us cut grass for a day. But like, we're never gonna be there when they're like doing what they do, like
Yeah.
in the hospital. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So
Weird.
yeah, it's crazy. It's cool though, being with people that are in different. It's cool hearing conversations of people who have spouses that stay at home and then spouses that have other full-time careers, because it's just so different. Their views on business and like, we have mutual friends, Kevin and Brittany Allman, who's like, they're married, but they're both in the business. Like, they both run the business together. And then other friends who are married and she just stays at home. She's kind of in business somewhat, not near as much as she used to be, but like,
Who?
it's just Brian and Liz.
Oh,
just like
yeah,
how
Yeah, she's involved. But
she's
it's just
involved, but
different.
not really any way like.
She's kind of
Kaleb and
stepped
Brittany
back
are.
a little bit since having.
Yeah, they had a baby, and so now she's
Yeah.
Yeah.
full-time mom mode, and she does her own thing. And so it's just crazy seeing how different couples operate and what works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think the hardest part is? The hardest part of the way along the way?
It's tough.
I think we're about to come up on the hardest part, with her finishing school, like looking at having kids and stuff like that, just balancing all of that. And then with it, kind of like what we were talking about beforehand about moving around and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and like I talked about, detailing is not my passion. My goal in the next year and a half is to get that to where someone else can run it and I can live 3.5 hours away and it still bring in.
Oh, so you want to
an
keep it?
income. Yeah.
You want to keep it here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like I talked about earlier about it's supporting other people
Yeah.
and giving them a better lifestyle. And when I took my first employee on, that's what I promised him. I said, no matter what, you're gonna live better than you were beforehand, and I'm gonna make that happen, not just for you, but if you put in the work, it'll help me
Yep.
as well. And so with that, getting to a point where someone else is running it and trusting them to run it and do that for you from a ways away, and then looking towards the next business, right? Because that's my goal. A lot of people like to find one specialty and stick in it and become an expert in that and love that. My ultimate goal is just to own multiple businesses, have multiple revenue streams, and to be able to kind of do other things outside of work, have a farm, have a family, do stuff. And so the next business that I'm kind of talking about right now is a lot bigger, a lot more money, a lot riskier. And so I think we're coming up on that, and it's repeating the cycle, right? Like just as soon as, and I know it's a nightmare for her, just as soon as we get stable and get to a point where it's like, all right, we're doing really good. It's like, okay, that's awesome. Let's take all this money that we've saved up and dump it into something else that there's a 50-50 chance we could lose everything on it, And so I think that's the biggest thing of just those cycles for me in my entrepreneurship journey of starting from nothing, building it, and then starting back over. I know that wears on her, and I know that wears on both of us. So getting back to the beginning is going to be the hardest thing for us upcoming, even though we just did it, a year ago.
Yeah,
so
I wasn't going to say that, but I totally agree with that. I had not thought about that yet.
I just gave her a ton of anxiety.
No, no, it's fine. That's the life.
Now you know what you're going to talk about on the way home.
No, that's the life. That's what I agreed to when I started loving him, and I knew how his mind worked back then. So it was no shocker eventually.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Final question that we try to ask everybody is, what is your why?
For me, it's kind of what I talked about just a minute ago about generations behind me, setting them up, but also the mission field side of it. That's a huge thing. Not too long ago, I was sitting in the truck with my employee, Kaleb, and he kind of comes from nothing, and like I said, trying to build a life for him and his family. And we were having a bad day. It just sucked out there, and it was one of those days. And he could probably tell that I was down, and he looked at me. He said, I understand that this isn't your thing. You're not going to do this forever, but I see why you do it. I see the mission field, and he used the word ministry. And for someone that's lost and unsaved, for him to realize that this is a ministry as much as it is a business, was something that just touched me greatly. And that little things like that are the things that remind you why you're doing what you're doing, and feed into that. And in 20 years, that why may be different, with kids and different stage of life. But right now, providing for me and her and reaching people any way that we can is a cool thing to do. So
What is your why?
Yeah, our why is the same, and I would add that back to the top list about what you need to talk about. If you're, engaged, you're dating, maybe you're married and starting a business, make sure the why is the same. Because if the why isn't the same, you're never going to be happy with the end point, because you won't both be at the same place. And I think that we've talked about that in our professional lives, making sure it is a ministry, and that not enough people do that. You go to church on Sunday morning and you go to your small group, but when you're at work, you're focused on work. But there's more to it than just work. And so I can, the hospital is my mission field, and the rest of the city is his mission field, and people's driveways. And so it definitely looks different, but the why is the same.
That's awesome.
That's good stuff.
That's good.
I don't have anything that I can add to it. I think that's
a good
way to end. Yeah, for sure. So thank y'all for coming on today. If you did enjoy the show, we want to reach out to Kaleb. Where could they find you if they want to ask you a question or something?
I don't personally have social media, but both businesses have social media. You can reach me on Instagram or on Facebook with both of them, Prime Shine Mobile Detailing and Rolling Storage LLC.
Okay. And what is I think the profile on the Prime Shine is just a big Prime Shine trailer, isn't it? Isn't that the profile picture?
I think so. It's also the logo. So
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, the logo.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the logo on the trailer. That's why I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll put those links we'll put the link to the Prime Shine Instagram in the show notes. So go shoot Kaleb a message if you have any questions there, because I think he is, like you're saying, you're going to end up being a serial entrepreneur. That's part of it. I think that's where you want to go. I think there's a lot of people out there that do want to go that way, but You got to have a team around you. You got to have employees. You got to have a supportive wife. I guess you don't have to be married, but it makes it a lot better. A lot more fun.
Helps,
yeah. A lot more fun along the way to have somebody to share that with. So thanks for coming on today, guys. If you did enjoy the show, leave us a big 5-star rating and review. Those really do help boost us out there to reach more people. And we can continue to go to the community one relationship at a time. But I think without any further ado, that's going to wrap this one up.
Yeah.
This is the last one without a baby.
Yeah, it is. Last Marriage Monday.
Baby is coming this week.
Well, not the last Marriage Monday, but
the last Marriage Monday without a baby.
Yeah.
The next one, there will be a baby
Jesus.
here. So
Yep.
maybe in your lap. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Crying in the background.
Yeah,
I know.
I'll have to step out.
The pause button will become
the
used,
mute.
Yeah, it will be used very frequently. But
Yep,
thanks for tuning in. It really is an honor to be able to bring this to you each and every week. And for all of you that support us out there, just keep it coming. It really means a lot. All the messages that we get that we had a message just a couple weeks ago that we both read coming home from church, I think it was. And it was like, you sit there and you realize like what a ministry it is. And like, this is our ministry. Same way the business is yours going out. But like, if you never make $1 off of it, if it's just worth it, like getting to help people and grow people's relationships and everything else along the way. So that's what it's about for us. Not in it for the money, just in it for the relationship building and the ministry along the way. So I think that's going to wrap this one up. Last one without a baby. We'll see y'all next time here on the show with a baby probably.
Yep.
And we're looking forward to it. So I think that's going to wrap this one up for the 18th time.
Yeah.
We'll see everybody in the next one. See y'all.